Good evening and welcome to the Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhavdas. Viewers, the Supreme Court has dealt a big blow to the EVM doubters. While pronouncing verdict in the EVM VVPAT case, the top court has rejected a prayer for 100% verification of votes polled on EVMs with slips printed by VVPAT machines. The court has also rejected the alternative prayer for return to ballot paper while stressing that blindly distrusting any aspect of the system can breed unwarranted skepticism and impede progress. The apex court stated that increased voting percentage shows that voters have complete trust in EVMs and that the use of voting machine eliminates booth capturing. Supreme Court also cast doubts on the bona fides of petitioning associations, saying that there appears to be a concerted effort to discredit, diminish and weaken the progress of the nation, and that such efforts or attempts should be nipped in the bud. After the Supreme Court pronounced its verdict, the Prime Minister went all guns blazing against the India Alliance leaders, calling the verdict a tight slap on the opposition's face, saying it's a blow to those who used to loot ballot boxes on the day of polls.
चुनाव के दिन लूट चलाते थे, वोट हड़प करने के खेल खेलते थे, इन लोगों से बर्दाश्त नहीं हो रहा था। अभी भी वो परेशान है और इसलिए उनका दिन रात यही काम रहता है, कैसे भी करके ईवीएम हटना चाहिए, ये बटन दबाने वाला खेल बंद होना चाहिए, यही उनका खेल चल रहा है। इंडी गठबंधन के हर नेता ने ईवीएम को लेकर जनता के मन में संदेह पैदा करने का पाप किया है। आज उच्च न्यायालय ने, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने साफ साफ कह दिया है कि बैलेट पेपर वाला पुराना दौर वापस लौट करके नहीं आएगा। आज जब पूरी दुनिया भारत के लोकतंत्र की, भारत की चुनाव प्रक्रिया की, भारत के चुनावों में टेक्नोलॉजी के उपयोग की वाहवाही करती है, तारीफ करती है, तब ये लोग अपने निजी स्वार्थ के लिए बदनीयत से ईवीएम को बदनाम करने पर लगे पड़े थे। इन्होंने लोकतंत्र के साथ लगातार विश्वासघात करने की कोशिश की है, लेकिन आज इन्हीं लोगों को देश की सर्वोच्च अदालत ने, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऐसा करारा तमाचा मारा है, ऐसा करारा तमाचा मारा है, ये अब मुंह ऊंची करके देख नहीं पाएंगे जी।
Remember, top India Alliance leaders have time and again expressed doubts on polling through EVMs. Let's revisit what Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi had said in the lead up to Lok Sabha polls.
राजा की आत्मा ईवीएम में है। सही है, सही है। राजा की आत्मा ईवीएम में है। हिंदुस्तान की हर संस्था में है, ईडी में है, सीबीआई में है, इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट में है।
तो इन्होंने कुछ गड़बड़ पहले से कर रखी है कि इनको मालूम है कि हमें 400 मिलने वाले हैं, है कि नहीं? नहीं तो इस तरह ज्योतिषी की तरह कैसे कह सकते हैं कि क्या मिल रहा है। हम इतना कह सकते हैं कि अगर इस देश में आज के दिन ऐसा चुनाव हो जिसमें कोई गड़बड़ी नहीं हो, जिसमें ईवीएम में कोई गड़बड़ी नहीं है, तो मैं दावे के साथ कह सकती हूँ ये 180 से ज्यादा सीट नहीं ले सकते, उससे भी कम लेंगे।
Ministers in the Modi government have welcomed the Supreme Court verdict, calling it a setback to opposition which had been spreading confusion on EVMs. But the India bloc leaders continue to express their apprehensions with regard to EVMs and vowed to remove it once they are voted to power.
हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय का स्वागत करते हैं और एक बार फिर विपक्ष जो भ्रम फैलाने का प्रयास करता है, अपनी हार का ठीकरा ईवीएम पर फोड़ता है। बार बार जनता के दरबार में जिस विपक्ष को ठुकराया जाता है वो ईवीएम को आरोप लगाकर कहीं ना कहीं अपनी हार का ठीकरा वहां पर फोड़ता है। लेकिन अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी बड़ा स्पष्ट कर दिया है कि वीवीपैट की पर्चियों को मिलाने की याचिका को खारिज किया है।
ये लड़ाई बहुत लंबी है, वीवीपैट को लेकर के, ईवीएम को लेकर के और बैलेट पेपर को लेकर के। ये लड़ाई लंबी है। माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो भी फैसला है उसको अंततः सब स्वीकार करेंगे, लेकिन लड़ाई रुकेगी नहीं, लड़ाई लगातार चलेगी। मैं एक ही बात कहना चाहूंगा, इंडिया गठबंधन को जिताओ, समाजवादी पार्टी को जिताओ, सरकार बनाओ और ईवीएम भी हटाओ।
जब भाजपा जीतती है तो ईवीएम खराब कैसे हो जाती है? ये यक्ष प्रश्न है, आपको भी उनसे ये पूछना चाहिए। 91 करोड़ मतदाता भारत के अपने मतदान का प्रयोग करेंगे इस चुनाव में, और दुनिया के देश आकर के देख रहे हैं कि इतने मतदाता इतने पोलिंग स्टेशन पे कैसे मतदान कर रहे हैं, कैसे मतदान शांतिपूर्ण हो रहा है, कैसे मतदान निष्पक्ष हो रहा है, वो तारीफ कर रहे हैं। और ये देश को बदनाम करने के लिए हमारी संवैधानिक संस्थाओं को बदनाम कर रहे हैं।
देखिए, वीवीपैट की जो बात है वो कांग्रेस ने अपने उसमें लेके आए हैं मैनिफेस्टो में। हमारा राज आएगा तो हम वीवीपैट के माध्यम से वोटें डलवाएंगे ताकि कोई संशय एक भी वोटर को हिंदुस्तान में ना रहे। भाजपा पे इसलिए शक है कि जो जहां पे ये मशीनें तैयार होती हैं उनके कई डायरेक्टर जो है ना आरएसएस के लोग बना दिए गए, इसलिए शक है देश को। और शक प्रधानमंत्री जी दूर नहीं करना चाहते, उन्होंने सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला ही बदल दिया। अगर चीफ जस्टिस भी इसमें मेंबर होते तो कौन ऑब्जेक्शन उठाता?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
And for more of this, let's go across to our guest. Joining us with us is Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. Ishkaran Bhandari, advocate, is with us. With us also is Vivek Saila, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Joining us is also Salem Dharanidharan, who's a spokesperson of the DMK. Ravula Sridhar Reddy, spokesperson of BRS. We also have Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, joining us. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Let me start with you first, Salem Dharanidharan. Your party has been opposed to EVMs in the past as well. And the India Alliance, which has approached the Election Commission with several issues that they say are related to the integrity of EVMs. Today, at some level or the other, the Prime Minister hitting out at all those who he alleges were, very happy in the era of booth capturing, but are now opposing the EVMs because of the safeguards entailed. How do you respond to that, Salem Dharanidharan?
See, I think it's again mere rhetoric by the Prime Minister and there's no substance. See, what we are against is that the current generation of EVMs, right, where there's a printer between the balloting unit and the control unit, right, and we suspect that this tampers with the integrity of the data that is fed into the control unit. Our party leader has also went on and said in his Twitter that this is in contravention to the rules laid out in the Representation of People Act 1951, adding that neither the 1961 rules allow for a printer to be in direct connection with the control unit. What we are saying is, if there's a ballot unit, if you're pressing it, it should directly go to the control unit. Why do you need an intermediary? And that raises a lot of questions. And this has been our contention. And in fact, Supreme Court also has given two very interesting suggestions or recommend directions to the Election Commission, right? So one is that if the candidate is placed number 2 or 3, he can request the Election Commission within 7 days to ask for the raw data stored inside to be investigated. So it is not that there's a clear cheat that is given to this entire system.
All right. Ishkaran would like to come in on that. It's not a clean sheet that has been given. There are some guidelines that have been issued by the courts. So somewhere, it's not like this entire petition was totally infructuous or totally without any kind of merit, is the argument of Salem Dharanidharan. Please respond to him. Ishkaran.
it is an entirely meritless petition and the Supreme Court order speaks for itself. What were the highest things they wanted to ask? They wanted a reversion to postal ballots. That has been rejected. They wanted to count all VVPAT slips. That has been rejected. They wanted the VVPAT slips to be taken and deposited in a box. That has been rejected. So if in case there is any election petition, which is the law of the land, if you have election petitions, you have to maintain the records. So if an election petition, is somebody interrupting me or am I speaking? So
no,
if there is an election or there is a lot of echo, can you just take care of that?
Yeah, I apologize. We'll try and fix that. Please carry on.
Take care of that. So in case there is an election petition, and that also only number 2, number 3, not busybodies. You know, so many people file the nominations where you are not serious candidates, have no chance of winning. So number 2 or number 3, that also in 5% of the EVMs. Again, not 100% which they're wanting. See, the basic policy is while you were in power and Congress was in power, that time also you had a problem with CAG. You have a problem with ED. You have a problem with CBI. You have a problem with Election Commission. You have a problem with EVMs. Anything not in your favor, you have problems with. And I will not quote so many statements made against judges and judgments of the court because I think that is inappropriate. But from day one till now, last 10, 12 years, every institution of India, because voters are not willing to vote for you, it has become a problem. Hindi mein kehte hain, naach na jane, aangan teda. Today what Supreme Court did, the same thing they tried in 2019. That time from 1 it became 5 EVMs per assembly can be checked. The same thing is repeated today. So you keep going to court, keep having objections, keep having problems. And in the interim also in the 5 years, so many petitions were made. The simple answer is EVM is a modern, safe, transparent, foolproof move of doing elections. And people who want ballots or people who want to hijack boxes, people who want to do booth capturing, they are uncomfortable with it and they will keep trying. But I think in nth number of Supreme Court judgments, it's become clear that EVM is reliable, EVM is safe, EVM is not hackable. They were given up opportunities to demonstrate if you can hack EVM. They could not make their case. Yes. There has been 10 years of attempts to say EVM is hackable. Not one thing they can prove. There have been 10 years of saying we vote for somebody, it goes to somebody else. Not one instance they can prove. And they can't prove it in the highest court of the country. So I think finally they should accept that you win or lose election based on your popularity, your effort, your policy, your programs, and like a bad worksman, stop blaming the tools. EVM is perfectly safe and much better than what we saw in the past in India, where entire ballot boxes used to be hijacked.
Yeah, I want to come in on that point.
They never used to be counted.
I want to come in on that point, Ishkaran, because I'm going to quote what the judgment says, and I want Vivek Sellas to come in on this. Vivek Sellas, yes. And I'm quoting verbatim from the judgment. The weakness of the ballot paper system is well known and documented. In the Indian context, keeping in view the vast size of Indian electorate of nearly 97 crores, the number of candidates who contest the elections, the number of polling booths where voting is held, problems faced with ballot papers, we would be undoing electoral reforms by directing reintroduction of ballot papers. EVMs offer significant advantages. They've effectively eliminated booth capturing by restricting the rate of vote cast to 4 votes per minute, thereby prolonging the time needed and thus check insertion of bogus votes. They reduce paper usage and alleviate logistical challenges. You know, it's very clear. All those who are demanding a return to ballot paper, the Supreme Court has said a very clear and unequivocal no.
Yes, first of all, good evening to you, Madhav. I think we are not questioning the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court, the Honorable Supreme Court has said, we have to abide with that. But I think it was the Bharatiya Janata Party also in 2009 which questioned the EVM. It was L.K. Advani ji, it was Arun Jaitley ji, it was Sushma Swaraj ji. They all questioned the same EVM. So you cannot say, because at that time the Bharatiya Janata Party was in the opposition. But as of now, if you see what happened in Uttar Pradesh till 5 p.m., it was only 52% of the vote that have been polled, and in Bihar it is just 53%. So people, where the chunk of the seats are there, you cannot say the people are not trusting the EVM, and there are questions everywhere. Anyway, at the end of the day, we have to abide what the Supreme Court has said. But there's one good thing that what the court has mentioned, that if you are at number 2 or number 3, after a week's time, you can go and recheck it. That is the thing. And another thing that the Supreme Court has said that the EVM has to be protected for 45 days under any circumstances. So I think there is a silver lining behind the black cloud at the moment. Results will show eventually where the country has voted. और अब तो सबसे बड़ी अदालत में हम हैं. हम तो जनता की अदालत में हैं. हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट से भी बड़ी अदालत में हैं जो कि जनता की अदालत में है. वो क्या फैसला देती है वो 4 तारीख को सबके सामने होगा.
Sure. Of course, you're trying to clutch at straws, it would appear, because the main arguments or the main demands of the petitioner, as Ishkaran said, were not accepted, and that's a fact. But certainly there are some guidelines. We put those 2 questions across to Sanju Verma. Sanju Verma, new guidelines have been issued. There are, of course, safeguards to strengthen the system. So therefore, it's not entirely, that it's all dark clouds. There's a silver lining as far as Mr. Vivek Salas is concerned. And he's also questioning that it's the BJP, it's Mr. LK Advani who first raised questions way back in 2009.
Madhav, I suddenly see that there is a whole bunch which has started recalling what Arun Jaitley ji said, what Sushma Swaraj ji said, what LK Advani ji said. These guys have a very convenient memory. Be that as it may, I'm sure some people will also quote GVL Narasimha Rao, who had written a book, against EVMs. All that is in the past. Today, I will not allow this bunch to digress and deflect. Latkana, atkana, bhatkana, inki fitrat mein hai. I think taking off from what Ishkaran said, and he made a few very pertinent points, I just have this to say. First and foremost, the likes of Prashant Bhushan and the entire Khan Market gang has a nice big fat omelette on its face, because these guys continuously try to undermine the credibility of India's electoral process under the garb of saying democracy khatre mein hai, samvidhan khatre mein hai, EVMs can be manipulated, EVMs can be hacked into. Whereas the simple logic here is this. The Supreme Court clearly told the other side and in pointed rebuttal to Prashant Bhushan, simply because you have a thought process, you have a suspicion, you have an assumption, you have a conjecture that EVMs do not work, that does not mean that we have to placate you and work according to your assumptions. So, पहली बात तो ये, Supreme Court has upheld that EVMs are foolproof, which is what your audience needs to know. And very quickly, Madhav, the second point, the Supreme Court has also said that 100% VVPAT matching with EVMs is neither acceptable nor desirable. So this is the second victory for people who believe that EVMs are indeed foolproof. The third point which I want to make is only this. An EVM has 2 units, a control unit and a ballot unit. The moment you press your finger on the ballot unit against any symbol or a party candidate, the vote is captured in the control unit, and it is said that once the vote is captured in the control unit after you have logged in your vote on the ballot unit, that vote is stored in the control unit, and even if you keep pressing the button again and again, you cannot rewrite or overwrite on the vote that you have already cast, which means there can be no duplication of votes. So I think this is absolutely foolproof, and the ex-electoral advisor to Barack Obama, Mr. Madhav Deshpande, clearly said that maybe EVMs can be manipulated under extremely benign circumstances if you're holding an election in a small county with 5,000 or 10,000 people. But if you're talking of India, where say a single constituency like South Bombay has more than 7 or 8 lakh voters, we are not even talking of the entire country.
No, EVMs and those EVMs
be hacked into.
Those EVMs are very different EVMs. In fact, they are operating system-based EVMs, which are very different from these EVMs. And it's a fact. It's a fact, Mr. Ravula Sridhar Reddy, that the technology itself is robust. The Supreme Court has gone through it. It's given it its thumbs up. And as the Chief Election Commissioner today, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, said that EVMs have been tested in at least 40 cases in different constitutional courts. Are we, for a process that has been, implemented since 2000, different governments have been elected of different ideological and other hues. Why are we still questioning? I mean, voters have the right to question the system. But are we repeatedly, raising questions and, trying to reduce the, let me just quote what they said, that blindly distrusting a system can lead to unwarranted suspicions. This is what Supreme Court is saying.
Yeah, Madhav, actually, first we respect the court's verdict, honorable court's verdict, number 1. Number 2, BRS, we trust in EVMs and we were never against it. At the same time, I also agree what you said. Anybody can question the system. It's nothing wrong. It's not a crime. They can go to the courts. They can appeal to the competent authorities on any system that is in prevalence. Only thing is that repeatedly for political mileage or something, blindly, negating or discarding some system is not correct. And see, we have believed in EVMs. Yes, we also have got elected twice in Telangana and we got the government. And various occasions, various political parties have got the government, somebody rejected. It's a different case altogether. But at the same time, the same Election Commission of India brought in VVPATs also. What is the purpose? To verify the entire process if there is any doubts or if any candidate claims any issues in the entire system or so. So it is nothing wrong to question the system or escalate the issue to the next level or wherever the competent system is. But blindly negating is a different case.
But there's no evidence, sir. Court is saying there is no evidence to back up these claims. That's what court is saying.
See, if there is no evidence, court has rejected. There ends the matter. But people have the right to question the system. That's what I'm saying.
Of course, the court has upheld that right. But unnecessarily creating fears, unnecessarily creating confusion is what the court is against. Let me bring in Tehseen Poonawala on this. I see hands going up. Ishkaran, just coming to you in a minute. It's very interesting, Tehseen, because Mr. Jairam Ramesh on the 4th of January wrote to Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar saying the India Alliance's concerns over the use of electronic voting machines have not been addressed. Today, in a tweet right after this judgment, Mr. Jairam Ramesh says that the Indian National Congress was not a party directly or indirectly to the petition on VVPATs, which has been rejected by Supreme Court today. We have taken note of the verdict of the two-judge bench, and a political campaign on the greater use of VVPATs to increase public trust in electoral process will continue. But what's very interesting is that it was the same Mr. Jairam Ramesh and the India Alliance which were raising questions about EVMs and the processes compared to EVMs as far as the use of EVMs are concerned, which has been completely held above board by Supreme Court today. Tehseen.
Thank you, Madhav, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify this. So there are two particular issues on this. Number one, the Congress or any of the Congress affiliates are not party to this petition. This petition said to do away with EVMs and get back ballot paper, which is a ridiculous petition argued by one of the lawyers who just doesn't win any cases. I don't know which side the lawyer plays on. The fact of the matter was that what the Congress manifesto specifically says, and please allow me to speak about that, is exactly what the Supreme Court said in its judgment, that we must have a greater system for auditing all VVPATs. That's what the Supreme Court has also said. So now the Congress manifesto has promised that all VVPATs need to be audited. The other thing that the Congress has been telling its voters is this, that the VVPATs, the voters will deposit it. Right now, because it's not possible and feasible, we're already in the middle of elections. When the Congress and the India Alliance comes to power, that will happen. Not just that, the voter will be able to see who he or she has voted for, and that vote will then go into the basket, will be able to feel it in case he is differently or she is differently able. This follows the German Supreme Court judgment. Now, the German Supreme Court judgment was very clear that the right to vote is a legal right. It's not a fundamental right. But the right to know who your vote has gone to is an absolute fundamental right. That is the correct person that you voted for. And therefore, in Germany, EVMs are considered not safe, unconstitutional and banned. Now that cannot be the case in India. There is two more points that I want to raise. While I absolutely bow before the Supreme Court and I accept the judgment, I can't understand why we can't count all VVPATs and match them. Ultimately, there is even today, and
because the courts have said it's not desirable. There will be a cumbersome process which would not be convenient. The courts have said it in as many words, Tehseen. Have you read the judgment?
I have. Please, may I finish? I have understood. So may I please finish? In any cumbersome process, okay, it will not take 1 day, it will take 2 days, 3 days. Is democracy more important or 3 days or 4 days? Let's be clear. Let's ask ourselves what is more. I respect the court, but we are having a very civil discussion.
So the courts don't believe in democracy?
Discussion with you. If you interrupt me, the viewers will think that I don't have a point. So allow me to make my point. You interrupt me after I finish. But allow me to make the point. It's a civil discussion. In any democracy, what is more important for us? Shouldn't all our votes be tallied? Or should time be important? I think let the viewers decide that. I have not said the Supreme Court's taken that. Number two, more importantly, why shouldn't there be technology, a barcoded technology that can help count it? And that's something the Supreme Court has ultimately alluded to and has said. Let me just put one thing out on record. This VVPAT business came in when the BJP moved Supreme Court. They didn't trust EVMs and therefore VVPAT came in. Supreme Court then said, in the BJP petition, Subramaniam Swamy went, that listen, EVMs are not completely foolproof. The Supreme Court has said that. Now we need to make it more foolproof, and I don't think that's a wrong demand per se. One last thing. I just want this for your viewers to understand, and I will end here.
Yeah.
Why is it? Okay. Why is it? Just one last point. Why is it?
You made about 5, but okay, never
just one last point. Just one last point.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why is it? Why is it? Every time the VVPAT has a malfunction and there's an extra vote, that vote is always BJP. Why has there never been an extra vote of Congress, Sappa, AAP, Basapa? Why is there extra vote only BJP?
I'll let the BJP answer that, but I think I have 2-3 very important questions because you're not factually correct on 2 or 3 points. And I'm reading out from what Jairam Ramesh wrote to the CEC in January. He specifically said that on the December 19, the 4th meeting of the opposition alliance parties had passed a resolution saying the many doubts on the integrity of functioning of the electronic voting machines. Today, what has the Supreme Court said of the integrity of voting machines? While we acknowledge right of voters to question the working of EVMs, which are but an electronic device, it is necessary to exercise care and caution while we raise aspersions on the integrity of the electoral process. Repeated and persistent doubts and despair, even without supporting evidence, can have the contrarian impact of creating distrust. This can reduce citizen participation and confidence in elections, essential for a healthy and robust democracy. Unfounded challenges may actually reveal perceptions and predispositions, whereas the court as an arbiter and adjudicator of disputes and challenges must render decisions on facts based on evidence and data. It's a direct, rejection of this entire argument that there is something wrong in the way EVMs are administered.
No, it's not. Actually, what the India Alliance raised doubts on, so let me make it very clear, is nothing in this petition. The petition was actually... Yes, but I'll tell you what they raised doubts on. There can be 3 or 4 doubts. I can tell you what the doubts are. So allow me to make my point. There were 2 or 3 doubts. Number one, the VVPAT, the paper on which the VVPAT is printed, the ink disappears on it. So now the Supreme Court has said this has to be saved, and it's compulsory that it has to be saved, including the chip. And that's the other part that they raised out on. The second thing that they said was that please allow it to be deposited, and all tallying should be done by a barcode. That the Supreme Court has said, well, the mechanism doesn't exist now, develop this mechanism. So their doubts have actually been cleared. The petition may have been something else, and both will be doubts, but those are not the doubts the India Alliance
Okay, Sanju Verma, questions for the BJP, questions for why the BJP's name is coming up on slips, etc. Please respond to Tehseen.
Let me be very clear. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still is a famous adage. And Tehseen belongs to that category. कि तेलंगाना में जीत गए तो EVM में सब चंगासी, कर्नाटका में जीत गए तो EVM में सब चंगासी, हिमाचल में जीत गए तो EVM में सब चंगासी. But when they lose Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Manipur, Goa, तब EVMs are hacked and manipulated. So, the Congress has the habit of playing victimhood. I don't care about the Rahul Gandhi victimhood card that is peddled every evening by his acolytes on national TV. But Madhav, your audience needs to know something very important, which the Supreme Court and various chief election commissioners have said. They've said the EVMs are foolproof because of double randomization. And in 20 seconds, I will tell your audience what is double randomization. The chief election commissioners and Supreme Court have collected all their statements, and this is what they say. They say that first serial numbers of all EVMs under the jurisdiction of a district election officer are listed. EVMs for a given constituency are then randomly selected through a computerized process known as the first level of randomization. At the second level of randomization, the returning officer randomly selects the EVMs at a given polling station. The idea behind the double randomization process is to ensure that no candidate knows which serial number is allotted to which candidate or which serial number is allotted to which symbol of a given party. And because of double randomization, EVMs are not 99.9% foolproof. EVMs are 100% foolproof, and I don't think Tehseen Poonawala knows more than the Supreme Court or the various chief election commissioners who've conducted polls and said EVMs are the best possible method of conducting polls in a diverse democracy like India.
Okay, quick response, Tehseen. Quick response, please. I have to bring in others. Quick response.
Yeah. Look, what the BJP spokesperson did not answer the viewers of Times Now and the people of India is this. Why is there every time there is an error in the EVM, it's only BJP? She refused to answer that. I want you to understand that. Number two, what isn't being answered by the BJP spokesperson is that why are EVMs, if they are so useless and cannot be operated outside an operating system, which I agree, why are they stolen in FIR's file, and why are they only stolen from BJP ruled states? Third point, why can't the election commission?
What is the basis of these charges?
I don't debate this.
Clarify on what basis are you making these charges?
Allow me to have my say. I think
there have been cases of EVMs being transported wrongly in non-BJP ruled states. It's happened in Kerala, for instance.
Transported, Madhav. I get your question. I'm not talking about transported. I'm talking about stolen. There's a difference. It's my RTI. Please allow me. I do know about the subject. It's my RTI. They've only been BJP states.
Where have they happened? Which states?
It's happened in Assam, it's happened in Madhya Pradesh, it's happened where BJP is in government. Both these states, it's been stolen.
Okay.
EVMs have been stolen.
Okay.
Let's
get BJP's response.
Now, third thing, please.
Yeah.
Please allow me.
No, you've asked the question. Tessin, one second, sir. You have made a point. Let's get a response. Then you can make another point. Sanju Verma, please respond to this. He says in BJP ruled states only it's been stolen.
Yes, I heard that. Madhav, there is something which I always accuse the other side of. The entire cabal of Rahul Gandhi and his darbaris. There is something called sense of proportion. आपने हजारों वोट डाले, उसमें से 0.00001% कहीं गलती आ गई. They will malign the entire institution. They will malign the entire electoral process. Some EVMs में problem दिखी थी in terms of being stolen or transport related problems in Himachal Pradesh. BJP did not cry foul. There were some problems in Karnataka. BJP did not peddle victimhood. There were some problems in Telangana. BJP did not peddle victimhood क्योंकि हम कहते हैं जनता जनार्दन का जनादेश सराखों पर.
Okay.
हम यहाँ पर टीवी डिबेट पर आकर रोते धोते नहीं हैं. Undermining our electoral process and our judiciary.
Okay. Now we're almost time on this debate. Salem Dharanidharan, you began this entire debate raising questions on how the technical infrastructure of the EVM and the VVPAT is. You know what the Supreme Court says on that? Please listen. We've conducted an in-detail review of the administrative and technical safeguards of the EVM mechanism. Our discussion aims to address the uncertainties and provide assurance regarding the integrity of the electoral process. A voting mechanism must uphold and adhere to the principles of security, accountability and accuracy. An over-complex voting system may engender doubt and uncertainty, thereby easing chances of manipulation. In our considered opinion, the EVMs are simple, secure, user-friendly. Voters, candidates and the representatives and officials of ECI are aware of the nitty-gritty of the EVM system. They also check and ensure righteousness and integrity. Incorporation of the VVPAT system fortifies the principle of vote verifiability, thereby enhancing the overall accountability of the electoral process. Now, your party has moved the Madras High Court questioning the design of the third-generation EVMs, but it appears that now the Supreme Court has perhaps set the record straight on the matter. Salem Dharanidharan.
No, see, we respect the Supreme Court verdict, right? We all have to abide by it. But we want to be extra cautious because the democracy of this country is under threat under BJP. I'm not saying it. You have think tanks from across the world saying that India is now moving into an electoral autocracy and institutions are being undermined, not just election commission, from every institution of this land, you name it, is being undermined. In such a scenario, we have to be cautious, and that is why we moved to the Madras High Court. And in fact, the Supreme Court verdict has also highlighted and given two important directions. One was that when candidates want what has been recorded,
the microcontroller and the SLU, the microcontroller and the SLU,
the symbol box.
Let me refresh your memory. Yes,
the SLU the SLUs also have to be sealed and kept. So that is also an important direction. Yes, why are you saying that we are wrong? Because we want to safeguard democracy in the country, and we are making sure that there is no way in which BJP is trying to undermine the democratic process.
Sir, return to ballot paper, no. EVMs are unreliable, no. There are VVPATs are not reliable, no. But pretty much all the core arguments that were there in the petition have been rejected. Yes, there have been more safeguards, and we should all welcome safeguards.
No, our point is very simple. Our point is very simple. What we are saying is, what we are pressing in that ballot box should directly go to the control unit, not to a printer, and then go to the control unit.
I just read out what court has said. They verified the technical processes and it's all above board, says the Supreme Court. We have to trust someone, sir, in this country. There is no end to any adjudication. No. Ishkaran, please come in on this. Well, how would you respond to Mr. Dharanidharan, who still has doubts as to why a printer is connected to the ballot unit?
Yes, let me respond. Let me respond in the observation of the Honorable Supreme Court itself. If you are predisposed about a thought process, then we cannot help you. We are not here to change your thought process. Even the Supreme Court realized that there are some people who will keep repeating the same thing, and it's not the job of the Supreme Court or the majority of the people or the government to change their thought process, because they have a vested, interested thought process in casting aspersions on the election. What has to be assured is that it's a clean election, it's a transparent election, it's a foolproof election. Let me take one example. India is sliding towards electoral autocracy. We are in a nation where before the Supreme Court stepped in, Congress government used to routinely dismiss state governments, impose president's rule. Later the Supreme Court had to lay down judgments which stopped this process. 58 or 62 governments dismissed by Congress. That was electoral autocracy, or that was democracy happening. What is happening here in EVM is only a very simple thing, that because you are losing elections, wherever you lose elections, you blame the EVM, or you blame the voter, call him Hindutwadi voter, or you blame the middle class. Every defeat of yours is to be blamed on something else, not on your leadership or your policies. Same is the case with EVM.
Okay.
BJP came to power even during EVMs. It was hackable. You think Congress would not have hacked it? You think they are above board in that sense? It is not hackable, be it BJP or Congress. Yes, better verification can always happen. And this 45 days also, let me clarify. The Supreme Court said election petition limitation is 30 days, so you keep 45 days. But under Section 81 days, it's 45 days. So you have to keep it sealed till the time a candidate has a chance to file a petition. That is all that has happened. Even earlier it was being kept. Only the time may be extended by 10-15 days. But it was not a case that immediately after the voting, EVM records were destroyed. That was not happening even earlier.
Well,
so
one
all
thing is
the
very
petitions have flopped in the court. Their basic grievances have been rejected by the court. And I will end by saying, the Supreme Court has observed, if you are predisposed to a thought process, we cannot change it. It is enough. It's been 15-20 years of this. Let's rest the bogie to rest. Elections are going on. Trust the process.
Yes, I think that's the key aspect of it, that ultimately, while everyone has a right to dissent, while everyone has a right to their view, at the end of the day, certain processes will have to be respected, because otherwise creating mass distrust in our entire electoral system, as the Supreme Court has observed, perhaps is not something that is desirable. We'll have to leave it there for the moment. I'd like to thank Vivek Sela, Salem Dharanidharan, Sridhar Reddy for joining us this evening. Our other three guests will continue for debate number 2.